Hello, my name is Marcus Chavez and I'm with IFARA TV. Today we will be cablecasting segments of the press conferences that were held during the 22nd CROI, which is the annual conference on retroviruses and opportunistic infections, which took place in Seattle, Washington this year. This segment will be presented by Jean-Michel Molina, who is with the University of Paris Diderot in France. Jean-Michel talks about the results of the IPRGE study. The IPRGE study looks at on-demand PrEP in MSM with TDF-FTC, also known as Truvada, against a placebo in a randomized trial design.
Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. So the IPRGE study was a study sponsored by the French Agency for AIDS Research in France and with a strong support also from the community. And this study was assessing on-demand PrEP with TDF-FTC in high-risk gay men. And the idea of the study, which was conducted against placebo in a randomized design, was to first demonstrate the efficacy of PrEP and also validate the regimen on demand at the time of sexual exposure. So building on the data from the macaque models, we designed a study in which participants were asked to take their drugs, 2 pills, before sexual intercourse, meaning at least 2 hours, but could be even before, the 24 hours before sexual exposure, and then take 2 other pills after their sexual exposure, one 24 hours after the first pill and the second 48 hours later. And what we were able to show in the study was actually the high effectiveness of these strategies, since the relative risk of HIV infection decreased by 86% with on-demand TDF-FTC as compared to placebo, with the lower bound of the confidence interval being 40%. What's even, I think, more interesting is that the 2 individuals who became infected in the TDF-FTC arm were infected only after 16 months of follow-up in the study, and this participant had both discontinued the use of PrEP months before their contamination, their infection. And actually, when we measured drug levels in the blood of these participants, there was no drug detected either at the visit at the time of infection or even at the visit before. And these participants were returning actually full bottles of drugs at each visit. What else could I add? The median number of pills that participants were using during the study was actually 16 a month instead of 30 a month if they were on a daily regimen. That means that they were using on average 4 pills a week, and 4 pills is actually what we thought would be desirable to cover 1 sexual intercourse. So that means that the participants had an average of 1 sexual intercourse covered by PrEP during their follow-up in the study. What I think interesting with on-demand PrEP is that the strategy is in the hands of the people, and they can decide whether or not to use PrEP, whether or not to use a condom of both or none. And actually, when we interviewed them, they reported that during the last sexual exposure, they used PrEP only 70% of the time. And in 30% of the time, they didn't use PrEP because they didn't feel they would need PrEP. And I think this strategy is an alternative then to daily PrEP, and it might be more attractive for people to be on an intermittent regimen rather than on a daily regimen. And we think that this will extend options for people who want to reduce their risk of HIV acquisition should they not want to use a condom.